Well, I tell you, I've gone back and forth over Wonder Woman, worrying that it's going to be in trouble, and then getting certain details and thinking, well, maybe not. It might be pretty good. And then, oh, now I'm back to worrying. But we'll just have to see the movie. But in the meantime, all of a sudden, Wonder Woman 3 in doubt. It's Patty Jenkins. So, first, seemed like she was happy with Warner Brothers, and oh boy, it's going to be on HBO Max and in theaters. Yay, but she was never crazy about the idea. Well, they did give her quite a good check on that, as if it did make the money that it could have made. So she's paid up, but then the click, Christopher Nolan and others all came, where's our check? And all these films that are going to be released simultaneously takes away from whatever projected possibilities of profit it could have made under the theater system. Well, the theater system isn't there. And regardless of what happens, how many of them can come back, you don't know. Some will not be able to. And that's a pretty serious problem, so you can't really go by projections and all that. The old model is effectively gone. Some form or fashion of it could return. That's going to take a while. It's not happening next summer. And then you can't even project on what the audience size will be. How many people are going to be just scared to go? You go between people's opinions on this whole thing and how serious or how much danger you're in, and others, not so much. So maybe they'll show up, but then there's those people who won't. And so you can't predict that. So the model is just not there. So yeah, I know Warner Media is a corporation, but at this point, I don't really see where they had much choice. So that's where they are. And but apparently not all is well. I had thought that it was more than just a payout, that she was going to get her Amazon series, and Wonder Woman 3 was a done deal and all this stuff. Well, apparently not. So she's talking to the New York Times. When did you finally get the call about the release of HBO? And then she says that they were pretty sketchy about it, so they will never do that. Then suddenly they do, and that's how that turned out. So she's got reason to be skeptical of them and not happy with them, and there's even more than just this, but I'll get to that in a bit. So she doesn't trust Warner Media. She says, I would like to believe that this is temporary, but I'm not sure I do. Yeah, you shouldn't, because I'm pretty sure it's not. Whether Warner Media wants it to be or not, it is where it is, and there's not a whole lot they can do about it. But then she says, I'll tell you, some studios are going to go back to the traditional model and cause tremendous upheaval in the industry, because every great filmmaker is going to go work there. And put it where? If the theater model is there and can function, I don't see any reason why Warner Media wouldn't go for it in some form or fashion. Of course, AT&T is demanding they bank on HBO Max as it is now, and there was going to be a pressure on that to begin with. But movies being available on it would still work even through the theatrical model. However, I imagine they would have had them at a shorter run, so that they'd certainly be on the streaming service pretty quick, maybe even within a month after release. Something like that probably would have happened. And I can understand arguing and bickering about that, but after this year, I'm not really seeing the choice here. And that's not going to go away just because of streaming wars may have been the big motivating factor here. What is this studio that's going to have these theaters available? So apparently she skips Wonder Woman 3 for Star Wars and Cleopatra. So she's going to do Rogue Squadron, and she wants to do this Cleopatra movie with Gal Gadot. So the New York Times asked her, you're directing the Star Wars movie, Rogue Squadron, next. After that, do you still plan to direct a third Wonder Woman film? Jenkins says, we'll see what happens. I really don't know. Oh, no. I know that I'd love to do the third one if the circumstances were right and there was still a theatrical model possible. There isn't. So I don't know that I would if there wasn't. So as of now, I think that's it. There isn't going to be a Wonder Woman 3 from Miss Jenkins. So I'm pretty sure there will be a Wonder Woman 3, but because I don't see the theater model coming back. I mean, I guess in a limited form it would still be, and maybe that would be enough to convince her. But sounds like she's already jumped ship to Star Wars, you know. So there you go. So the relationship with Warner Media, why is it so bad? Well, another little story. Apparently, she got some interference too. All the DC movies did. Suicide Squad, Justice League, of course. Good Lord. There's always been this studio interference, and typically at the 11th hour, which is really stupid. So a lot of people are upset about this. Is the first film, not this one, although it's been reshot too. But I guess maybe someday we'll figure out what that was about. But a lot of people loved the movie, but they didn't like the ending of the battle between Wonder Woman and Ares. It never really bothered me. I could see that it was a bit of rushed CGI stuff. But then again, I always countered, well, what does a battle between gods look like? I've never seen that. But apparently that was not the ending. And so they came in and wanted it this way. And she said that the ending was much more pared down and a rather quiet one. And I guess we'll never know what it was. But that was, more of the interference with these movies. So even Wonder Woman, their big winner, even that one got interfered with, which probably to see it does work sometimes. Because it's just, the tail end of the movie. So it's, it wasn't going to ruin the whole thing. But a lot of people just didn't like it and said, yeah, it was a good movie until that point, and that sort of thing. So it's a strange place at Warner Media. Supposedly, they're not going to do that anymore, but shenanigans keep happening, and this article mentions it about the business of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp. Amber Heard, I can tell you right now, she's in there because, yes, Aquaman, but most notably Snyder Cut. She's Mara in Snyder Cut. Had she hadn't been, might be a different story at this point, but she is. They're banking everything on Snyder Cut for HBO Max because everything is about HBO Max. And if it can deliver just enough change to make it viable, then AT&T will sell the whole thing off, probably. But that's where it is, and it's a rather huge burden that I'm not sure Snyder Cut, even if it's really good, can handle. It's rather unfair. But glad I'm getting it because I've wanted to see it, and so we'll get that. But yeah, this business and why was Johnny Depp fired? I'm not certain about that, especially with all the stuff that came out, regardless of the British court's ruling. It's pretty obvious who the villain was here. But she was in Snyder Cut, and she was in their $1 billion superhero film of Aquaman. So, and especially with Snyder Cut, because it would just be it'd be more money to have to reshoot all her scenes with some other actress. Yeah, not doing that. So that's a little harder. So they might as well keep her in Aquaman too, and that's where that goes. So, it sounds like a nasty place to work. But hopefully there won't be too much studio interference. I can't imagine there won't ever be ever again. I'm not buying any of that. But the main thing about studio interference from the Snyder Cut lesson was there's a certain point where it's too late. And the 11th hour is the 11th hour, and you can't do it. And that's what they tried to do. And where you saw the result. So as for Wonder Woman, it has been reshot because this was a movie that was supposed to have come out over a year ago now. And that one, whatever that was, is not the movie we have now. So maybe at some point we'll get some inkling as to what that was about. Wonder Woman 84, the original cut. I don't know. So anyway, I'm still nervous about it and worried that it's going to be more preachy stuff about 80s greed, as if 80s was the decade that invented greed. It wasn't. And, of course, Pedro Pascal wearing a Trump wig. If that's dominant within the film, it'll fail. so sick to death of that crap. And you go to the movies. It's a superhero movie, for God's sakes. You're going for the escapism. Can it just get 2 hours away from this crap? And then most of these things say, no, you're going to get another lecture. And so, well, you'll see the consequences of that. And it's a shame, because Wonder Woman was a good film. But maybe it was just kind of an accident. I don't know. But hopefully not, and we'll see soon.
Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.